Welcome to HFY Beyond Terra, where humanity doesn't just survive, it becomes the galaxy's biggest surprise. Subscribe, and let's go beyond Terra.
The first thing everyone noticed was the knife. It wasn't even out yet, just the shape of it, a hard angle under Aaron Klein's hoodie pocket as he stood too quickly, chair screeching back like a warning siren. 28 heads snapped his way. The hollow board kept projecting Professor Havel's tidy equations, oblivious and glowing. Aaron's hand emerged. Metal flashed. Somebody inhaled so sharply it turned into a whimper. Professor Havel froze mid-sentence, marker hovering in the air like it had forgotten gravity. And in the third row, seat 14, the new girl just smiled. Not the tight, nervous smile people wore when they were trying to look calm. Not the apologetic smile that begged, please don't. It was a small, bright curve of mouth like she'd just heard a joke she appreciated. Aaron blinked at her. That was enough. For half a second, his brain stuttered. Everyone else was doing the predictable mammal thing, shrinking away, hands up, eyes wide. Fear made sense, her smile did not. "Put it down," Professor Havel said, voice careful, as if each word was a glass bead he could drop and shatter the room. Aaron's grip tightened. Shut up, all of you." Seat 14's desk slid back with a soft scrape, not hurried, not dramatic. The new girl stood. She was small. Not short exactly, more like she was compact, built for function the way a tool was built. Dark hair braided neatly down her back. Standard academy uniform, sleeves rolled to the elbows like she preferred having her hands free. A faint green pin on her chest displayed her transfer designation. Liaison student, a DEATHWORLD exchange. Most people didn't look at it long. The word Deathworld was one of those labels that stuck in your throat like a seed. It meant her home planet produced weather, predators, bacteria, and plants with a kind of casual hostility that made civilized species shudder. Aaron looked at it now. "You think this is funny?" he snapped. The girl's smile didn't change. She spoke softly, conversationally, like they were discussing homework. "No," she said, "I think it's sad." A few students flinched at the sound of her voice simply because it broke the silence in a way that wasn't panic. Aaron thrust the knife higher as if elevation made it more real. "Then sit down." Instead, she tilted her head. "That's a kitchen cutter," she observed. "Polymer handle, cheap steel, not even honed." Aaron's face reddened. "It's a knife." "Sure," she said kindly, and the kindness landed wrong, like a hand placed on the wrong shoulder. "But it's not a plan, it's a prop." Aaron hesitated. The knife wobbled in his grip. Professor Havel took a single cautious step toward his console, likely to call security. The motion drew Aaron's eyes for an instant, and that instant could have become a tragedy. The new girl's gaze flicked to Havel, just a glance, a silent don't. Professor Havel stopped. The class didn't breathe. The girl took one step into the aisle, hands open at her sides, showing nothing. She was close enough now that Aaron could see the tiny pale scars along her knuckles, old, thin lines that didn't match the smoothness of a sheltered life. "You're Aaron Klein," she said. Aaron flinched. "How do you—" "You've been late 3 times this month," she continued, voice still gentle. "You got moved out of advanced track last term. Your partner for the lab practical asked to be reassigned. And your wristband is set to mute, so the Academy's well-being pings haven't been getting answered." Each detail was a pebble dropping into a deep well. Aaron's eyes darted around. Don't psychoanalyze me." "I'm not," she said. "I'm noticing. It's what you do when you grow up somewhere that wants you dead for being inattentive." The word dead hit the room with a weight that made the air feel thicker. Erin's grip tightened again. Back off. She didn't surge forward either. She closed the distance the way you close a door against a draft, firmly, without drama. Another step. Calm, precise. Erin, she said, and now her smile softened, not brighter but less sharp. Do you want to hurt someone, or do you want everyone to finally look at you and understand that you're hurt? His jaw worked. For a second, he looked like a boy who'd been asked to read aloud and couldn't find the place on the page. His voice cracked. They don't listen. I'm listening, she said, but that thing in your hand isn't a sentence, it's punctuation. Erin frowned, confused despite himself. What? It's an exclamation point, she said. It makes a lot of noise, it scares people into paying attention, and then it doesn't say anything. The knife dipped a fraction. Professor Havel's mouth opened, closed again. Tears glimmered in the eyes of a student near the window. The new girl kept speaking, steady as a metronome. If you wave it around, one of two things happens, she said. Either someone panics and gets hurt by accident, or security arrives and treats you like a threat that needs to be stopped. Neither of those outcomes makes you feel less alone. Erin's breathing had turned ragged. He stared at the blade like it was suddenly foreign. You think you're the first person who has wanted the room to feel what you feel? She asked quietly. On my planet, people do it with rocks, with fire, with their bare hands. It never ends the way they imagine. She took one more step. Now she was close enough that if Erin lunged, she would have no time to dodge, and still she smiled. It was then in that impossible calm that Erin finally saw her. Not the uniform, not the pin, not the label, the eyes. They weren't cold, they were trained. The kind of attentive that didn't flicker. The kind that tracked your shoulders, your wrists, the angle of your feet like a creature that lived beside storms and learned to read them before they hit. Erin's fingers loosened slightly unconsciously. Give it to me, she said. Erin swallowed. You'll take me down? She shrugged one shoulder. If I had to, yeah. The class collectively shivered. But I'd rather not, she added, and for the first time her smile looked human instead of alien. I don't want to win, I want this to be over. Over, simple word, huge promise. Erin's gaze flicked to the door, to the windows, to Professor Havel's console, to the terrified faces he'd forced into a story they hadn't agreed to be in. Then slowly he held the knife out, handle first, trembling. The new girl took it with 2 fingers like it was hot, and without changing expression, she set it down on the nearest desk. Then she did something that made everyone's brain stutter all over again. She reached into her own pocket and produced a small, wrapped packet. She held it up. It crinkled. Candy. Erin blinked at it like it was another weapon. "What is that?" he whispered. "Sugar," she said matter-of-factly. "When someone on my planet is about to do something stupid, you give them sugar if you can. It keeps their blood from crashing, helps the brain regain access to the not-dying parts." A few students let out breathy, disbelieving sounds. Professor Havel made a noise that might have been a laugh if it wasn't so close to sobbing. Erin stared at the candy. His hands were empty now. They hovered in front of him, unsure what to do without the knife as an anchor. He took the packet. The wrapper rustled loudly in the silence. The new girl stepped back just enough to give him space without giving him an escape route to the blade. "Okay," she said, tone gently bossy. "Now you sit down." Erin obeyed, collapsing into his chair like his bones had finally remembered gravity. Professor Havel finally moved, 2 quick taps at the console. A silent emergency ping, not an alarm, a request for trained responders, not soldiers. The new girl's smile faded to something neutral. She glanced at Havel again, good. Then she turned back to Aaron and lowered her voice. When they arrive, she said, you're going to tell them the truth. Aaron's lips trembled. What truth? That you didn't want to kill anyone, she said. That you wanted the pain in your chest to have a shape people could see. Aaron's eyes filled, furious at himself for it. And you're going to ask for help, she finished, like it was a rule as simple as completing an assignment. He shook his head once weakly. They'll expel me. Maybe, she said, honest. Maybe not, but if you keep going like this, you'll expel yourself from your own life. That's worse. Aaron stared down at the candy in his palm. His thumb worried the edge of the wrapper. You're not scared of me, he muttered. The new girl considered him for a beat. I am, she said. People are the most dangerous animals anywhere. That landed differently than bravado. It sounded like a fact learned the hard way. Then, because the room needed it, because the story needed a soft ending, she let her smile return, smaller now. But I'm also not helpless, she added. And neither are you. From the hall came the quiet, quick footsteps of responders approaching, measured, practiced, not a stampede. Aaron's shoulders hitched once as he inhaled. The new girl stayed standing beside him, hands still open, face calm. Her smile didn't end the moment with force. It ended it with certainty. And in a room full of trembling people, certainty was the first thing that felt like safety.